The same unrestrained access that's available to businesses should be available to the FBI to thwart further acts of terrorism. Thank you very much.
Earlier in the day, the organization Judicial Watch hosted a news conference on the FBI's investigation into Hamas and Al-Qaeda.
Stand with me.
Robert Wright is a special agent in the FBI's Chicago division. He talked about problems with the FBI's terrorism investigations. This is about an hour and 15 minutes.
Stand close to me, that way you'll get in the shot. Okay, with me.
Put this under your stuff so I'm not sitting here holding it.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Larry Klayman. I'm chairman and general counsel of Judicial Watch, a public interest group that investigates and prosecutes government corruption and abuse. Standing at my right is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Standing at my left is Special Agent Robert Wright of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Chicago Field Office. We're here today to conduct this press conference because Special Agent Wright has material information about FBI negligence and recklessness with regard to not investigating terrorism leading up to the events of 9/11. He is the first active FBI agent to appear before the cameras to speak directly to the American people about the breakdown at the FBI. Special Agent Wright is an American hero. Special Agent Wright is coming forward on behalf of the American people at great risk to himself and to others that work with him and are around him. We first met Special Agent Wright several weeks, in fact months, before 9/11. We met him in the office of David Shippers. You might remember David Shippers of the law firm of Shippers and Bailey. He was the House of Representatives impeachment counsel during the impeachment of William Jefferson Clinton. He asked us to participate as co-counsel on behalf of Robert Wright because of the important information that Special Agent Wright had to provide to the American people. From the very beginning, Special Agent Wright asked Judicial Watch and asked Dave Shippers to do everything that was appropriate under FBI procedure and policy to allow him to speak to the American people. And again, this is before 9/11, to alert them that our government was not doing enough to fight terrorism in the United States. As a result, we wrote a series of letters to the FBI, and we're going to make those letters available to you today, under their policies and procedures, asking for clearance for Special Agent Wright to be able to speak. He had written a book. His book was called Fatal Betrayal with regard to the intelligence mission of the FBI. And he wanted to get this book out to the American people so they could read it, so they could demand change, so perhaps things like 9/11 would never happen. But it did happen. And after 9/11 happened, I was instructed to contact Attorney General John Ashcroft on behalf of Special Agent Wright and to offer Special Agent Wright's assistance to the U.S. Department of Justice, of which I'm a proud alumnus. Unfortunately, we were met with resistance. The chief of the criminal division, Michael Chertoff, responded, "We've had enough of conspiracy theories. We're not interested in talking to Special Agent Wright." In addition, we contacted members of Congress, both the Senate and the House, and we offered Special Agent Wright's assistance in trying to reform the FBI. This is 9 months ago, right after 9/11, to prevent further terrorist attacks and to shore up the lack of national security apparatus which had left us so exposed. Instead of being allowed to talk to Congress, the FBI threatened Robert Wright from coming forward, effectively threatened him with his job, and to this date has never responded to our letters allowing him to testify, to come forward to Congress, or to speak to the American people. That has not responded positively. The most recent letter came at 5 p.m. yesterday evening. It was addressed to Dave Shippers, our co-counsel, and it was also faxed to Larry Klayman of Judicial Watch. That's me. And it's a very interesting letter, and it's a very troubling letter, in addition to being threatening. Because just yesterday, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Robert Mueller, undoubtedly in a cover-your-derriere type of public policy pronouncement, a PR pronouncement, said that in fact He was very grateful for agents coming forward, agents like Colleen Raleigh in Minnesota, who we applaud. She's a very brave lady, and she did a lot of good to this country by being able to expose the breakdown with regard to Zacarias Moussaoui and the lack of following up on this individual getting training at flight schools, as other FBI memos suggest, to crash planes into the World Trade Towers and other national monuments and buildings. We applaud Agent Raleigh. Bob Wright wanted to come forward long before Agent Raleigh even thought of it. But instead of praising Robert Wright, and let me read you the praise that was given to Colleen Raleigh. This is by the director of the FBI, Robert Mueller. Quote, "Let me take a moment to thank Agent Raleigh for her letter," Mueller said in front of cameras Wednesday. Quote, "It is critically important that I hear criticisms of the organization, including criticisms of me, in order to improve the organization. We must be open to criticism from within and from without, and to admitting and learning from our mistakes," unquote. Instead of following this new policy of openness at the FBI, an FBI who hid from the American people for 9 months that in fact they did have intelligence, that there were Islamic radicals training to crash planes into World Trade Towers and other monuments, this new policy of the FBI obviously was not sincere. Because at 5 p.m., we got this letter, and I'm going to read it to you. This is a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, John E. Collingwood, Assistant Director, Office of Public and Congressional Affairs. As a past Justice Department alumni, I can assure you that this was cleared by the Director of the FBI. Dear Mr. Shippers, this is in response to your correspondence to Special Agent in Charge Thomas J. Nair, dated May 22, 2002, concerning the intent of your client, Special Agent Robert G. Wright, to comment publicly about his duties and responsibilities. I would like to thank you for providing the FBI with advance notice of your client's intentions so we can provide appropriate guidance concerning his rights and obligations. Your letter indicates that you and Special Agent Wright believe that the value of his speech outweighs the interest of the FBI and is therefore protected under the First Amendment. The FBI's pre-publication review process recognizes that employees have First Amendment rights and attempts to appropriately balance those rights with the sensitivity of information in FBI files or that an employee may acquire by virtue of being employed by the FBI. Unauthorized disclosure of this type of information could impair national security, place human life in jeopardy, deny subjects of FBI investigations due process, or otherwise prevent the FBI from effectively discharging its responsibilities. In effect, what they're writing here is that what Special Agent Raleigh of Minnesota revealed would have put lives in jeopardy and jeopardized national security. Yet, the director of the FBI is praising her for coming forward, but writing a letter to Special Agent Wright effectively threatening him. And listen to hear these threats as I read this letter. As the FBI's Manual of Administrative and Operational Procedures makes clear, an employee is obligated not to disclose any information within the scope of his employment agreement without written permission to do so. Neither the employee nor his lawyer, therefore, they're talking to us at Judicial Watch and Dave Shippers of Shippers and Bailey, may decide when information otherwise prohibited from disclosure may be publicly disseminated. So the FBI is threatening not just Robert Wright, the FBI is threatening his counsel as well, at the same time that Mueller is praising Colleen Raleigh for coming forward after FBI gross negligence and recklessness is exposed and the public is in an outcry. The letter continues. Please note, no objection to disclosure or publication is being interposed solely because of Special Agent Wright's comments may be critical or disparaging of the FBI, the government, or its employees. Instead, our focus has been on advising Special Agent Wright that there is certain information which he is prohibited from disclosing pursuant to his employment agreement and FBI policy. As we have detailed in correspondence dated March 29 and May 10, 2002, the review the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office has conducted of Special Agent Wright's submissions indicate that the material concerns an open investigation. Raleigh was talking about an open investigation. They're still investigating Moussaoui. Matters occurring before a federal grand jury. Certainly there are criminal proceedings underway with regard to Moussaoui. sensitive law enforcement techniques, intelligence information, and additional material otherwise prohibited from disclosure. Because his requests were so inextricably intertwined